not going to have that. And so, and again, if you buy into the idea that a spirit could be trapped between and just, repeat, things in life right after they died, a child spirit may have more difficulty crossing over than an adult spirit would.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And more confused, less able to understand exactly where they are and why. I mean, we've read a lot of stories about psychics finding, there's a child spirit here that's scared or, was hurt and doesn't understand. They need help crossing over. I think we've all heard those stories. And so again, if you buy into it, that makes sense to me. So that's kind of what I've always held on to when it comes to kid ghost. That they're not necessarily there to torment you. They're just confused as to what's going on and why they're there.
Yeah, that makes so much sense. I mean, I never even really thought about that at all. Aw.
And that's kind of the thing I think that freaks me out the most is the innocence, and it feels like you want to help them, but you can't. And, and that's another, I could go on this topic for a long time, but the other theory is you see all these people that cross over ghosts, they go these big ghost hunting shows, they go to a building and they cross over this ghost and they say, oh, it's crossed over. We're done. Everything's going to be good. Well, the next ghost hunting crew that shows up has the exact same thing happening.
Yeah.
Jim that somebody crossed over the other day is back and whatever. So I think the crossing over is more for the person doing it than it is the ghost. It's like if that spirit is here, what makes you the one that's going to be able to cross it over?
Yeah. What did you think about that? I mean, have you thought about that?
No.
See, I wouldn't have thought about that either. So interesting.
Jerry, no. Never thought about it.
Well, I've been working on some technical difficulties the last few minutes. Let me tell you what the technical difficulty was. I'm stupid.
Oh.
And when we went live, I went live in the Graveyard Tales page and did not go live in the Hillbilly Horror Stories page.
Oh, dang.
No.
I kept noticing. I was like, man, we only got 50.
Yeah, there you go. Let's climbing up.
Went up to like 90-something already just because Tim Mullins let me know it went up. So I was able to go and add it a second ago.
Way to go, Tim.
If you're just tuning in, obviously this is all being recorded, and when it's done, you can go back and watch from the beginning. So I apologize. That was my fault. So
you just missed some long-ass rants from me and Matt. So you didn't miss a whole lot.
So real quick, are there any topics that are off the table that you will never cover? Matt, I'll let you go first.
I don't know. I don't know that we've ever. I know this. We don't have a list of no-nos.
Right.
We don't have a set of topics that say we're not going to cover these. We have gotten into some topics that when we started trying to put things together in the format of a show, we backed off because we were treading into water that we felt like might open up some windows that we couldn't close. We're not here to be controversial. We make it well known that if the information that we present is the information that we researched and could verify. We're not out here just, hey, this is going to be a show about Matt and Adam's opinion. But even still, when you present information like that and it treads into some areas that might get sensitive for some people, then you have to be careful because you're saying those words, and even though you're just repeating someone else's words, they can get attributed to you.
Yep.
And so we've backed off of a couple of topics that may have really hit a heavy religious tone. And it's not that, it's not that we have anything against religion. It's just that can be a very sensitive topic.
Mhm.
We don't discuss politics in our group because that's a very sensitive topic.
Right.
So we just say, let's keep it to what we're here for.
Yeah.
You know, this is all about having fun and having a good time. And so we keep our show that way. So if we feel like, oh, this is going to be rough,
Yeah.
you know, and this could kind of, you know, this may stir up more than what we're intending to stir up. So we may back off, but we don't have a list of nothing goes. And even some of those shows we've backed off, we've mentioned going back and doing because we think, I think we can do this without stepping on any toes.
Just figuring out how to do it might take longer than we had time for in the beginning.
Sometimes.
So.
Sometimes.
That's good thinking. I mean, we kind of feel the same way.
Yeah, I'd say for us, we try to stay away from certain subjects. Obviously, there's a lot of stuff that's on the table, but one of the ones that I've refused to do is the true crime Sylvia Likens, only because we do some true crime on Patreon. That's the young lady that was from Indiana that was pretty much tortured and killed. Mm-hmm. And it was so gruesome that it's just as bad as some of the stuff as we've done. That's one that I refuse to do.
Those I cannot do true crime. It just tears my heart out. I cannot do it. We
almost didn't do Albert Fish, but we ended up doing that one. But that's one that it was pretty gruesome. I refuse to do anything with the Nazi concentration camps.
Yep.
Just because, and I know there's a lot of people who say, hey, there's some hauntings and stuff over there. It's just a subject that I think we probably are better off not delving into.
Yeah, so we've thought about that too. Yeah.
Well, and we really, when we started prepping for our show on the Aokigahara Forest, we knew, okay, we're going to be talking about a subject that's going to hit home for a lot of people. And we have to make sure that we deal with this, you know, in a sensitive manner, that we're covering this forest because of what's happened there. Knowing that, you know, and in y'all's group, especially Jerry and Tracy, you know, we see a lot of people talking about suicide prevention and ways to get help. And that was even a show we let in with the suicide prevention hotline, because it's just a topic that when you talk about it, you know, it's gonna really affect some folks. And but that location is just it's so unusual that so many people have chosen that place to go to and to do that it just, we felt like, look, there's a lot of people that think you can't have that much death in a location like this without there being a mark left. You know, there's so many people that feel like there's something in that forest, but you know, I said, we need to talk about it, but we need to be sensitive about it.
Yeah.
Well, it's funny you said that, you mentioned that, because when we did that episode, I led off talking about my prior suicide attempt. And that's actually the show that kicked off us doing that every show. Yeah. And I don't know that we did it every show after that. It might have been a couple of shows later before we actually started doing it on a regular basis. But that's the show that kind of kicked it all off.
Mm-hmm. And I think, you know, that's one of those things that is very important that people talk about, because it's not see, Ashley is way smarter than I am. I never did college papers, but it's a topic that you know, you need to talk about. You need to get out there, and like Matt was saying, we wanted to start that episode out with that kind of information, because we didn't want anybody feeling like we were making light of the subject, you know, right. Because it is a very important subject, and Matt and I don't take it lightly, and we didn't want anybody thinking, oh, you know, these guys are making fun of it. Because honestly, right before that, a YouTuber had just gotten slung through the mud, going to Aokigahara Forest and then poking fun at,
and being disrespectful,
right? So
body, yeah. They actually, when they were filming, they came across the body hanging there, and it was just,
yeah. Oh, that's so bad.
Yeah, and we didn't want to be that way, you know, or even lumped into that that category, even though you know, we weren't, you can, like Matt said, things can get attributed to you and you can get put into a category not meaning to be, and it sucks. So we wanted to make sure we covered it correctly, you know.
Yeah, good.
So Ryan says Jerry's like that with the Masons. That's a topic that I covered, had my own personal opinion, and that was damn near 3.5 years ago, and Lord knows I've never heard the end of it since. So it's a topic that I don't touch anymore.
Right.
I haven't heard that show. I need to start digging back through y'all's catalog and find that one.
Right.
So Pete says, you all are incredible. Thank you very much for all the hours of hard work. Thanks for listening, Pete.
Thank you so much, honey.
Let's see here. What we got here? Yeah, William. That's what we were talking about.
You guys are so cool with all your questions and stuff. What about Tracy up there? What does she say?
So, you guys must check out Tim the Yowie Man, a local naturalist with a wealth of knowledge, stories, and experience in Australia, mainly in the Canberra region.
So you all know about that?
We ran across Tim the Yowie Man when we were doing research for a couple of the episodes. Actually, he came up, and it would be cool to be able to get him on an episode, but might be hard with the time difference and us not being that well known. Who are these jerks that want me to call in at midnight? I'm not doing that.
Just a 14-hour difference. That shouldn't be that big of an issue.
I know.
Yeah,
I know.
So I want to show you guys something. Tracy and I traveled all day today. We left this morning from Erie, Pennsylvania. I was up there on work. And so we came back through, and there was someplace I had never been. I knew I couldn't get in, but I wanted to at least get some pictures. So let me share what this is, and let me take this off. Anybody have any idea what that place is? Go ahead and post them, and we'll wait a second before we show. But it's a pretty famous place in the paranormal world. So we'll see if anybody has a guess.
It's my old family home.
Nice.
Well, let's see. While we wait for some people, Connor, any word about the Chicago in June? I was really looking forward to meeting you guys this year. Well, here's the deal. I've been talking to Brent, and I think it's probably going to get postponed, not canceled, and we're going to try to redo that a little later in the year. But I know I was talking to David and Brent last week, and we've all agreed that we do not want to cancel the show. But I think Illinois is not going to open back up until like June 1st, and this show was the 6th or the 9th. Or it's the 13th? It's June 13th. So it really wouldn't give enough people enough time to be able to make plans for it, and coming just off of a lot of the states just opening up and people getting back to work. It might be a financial strain on people. So we're probably going to reschedule it for a little later in the year. So that's kind of where it's at. Tom Lundy Sr., good guess. So I guess, let's see, let me see what else I got here. So that's me in front. Another cool picture. And there you go. Yes, it's the Ohio State Reformatory in Mansfield. And there was no way I was going to be that close. We literally had to drive through Mansfield that I was not going to stop and at least get some pictures.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, it's really cool looking place, actually.
Yeah, we had a good time there.
They stole our tagline, though. Did you see that?
What? Reopening soon?
Close the tour. See you soon. That's our thing. I want royalties.
Ever thought about covering the Mandela effect? We actually covered the Mandela effect on a Patreon episode, and I don't think we released that one out. I don't think we did a very good job on it. It wasn't as in depth. It was more almost like a panel discussion for us rather than a true episode like we've done. So yeah. I probably won't release that, but what about you guys?
We did the Mandela effect as a Patreon episode, but our Patreon episodes are a little more casual and don't have a really strict format. And it was more or less me playing. Do you remember this way with Adam?
That's the way we did it.
And so, you know, it was kind of cool. We just kind of felt like we couldn't get enough hard information to make it a complete episode, but we thought it was fun. And so we put it out as a Patreon episode. I saw a bunch of new ones just the other day. I wish I could remember them. But I was scrolling through Facebook and there was like 4 or 5 that I had never heard before. And, God, I wish I could remember what they were, but I remember just immediately turning over to Amanda. Do you remember that, you know, the such and such logo had a bow tie on it or something? And she was like, yeah, of course it does. No, it never did. You know,
I saw the one the other day about the fruit of the loom, whether it had the cornucopia.
Yeah.
And I remembered it having a cornucopia, but they say it didn't have one.
Yep. I always like, if I picture the fruit of the loom logo, I pictured a cornucopia, but I guess either I'm stupid or we've, you know, fallen victim to the Mandela effect. We've actually looked into this. Well, I've looked into this mirrored men thing. I don't know that I've thrown it at Matt yet. But there's so much going on it in the Monsters Among Us podcast group and everything right now that I didn't want to like, hey, look, we're doing one now too, kind of thing, you know, look like we copied him or anything. So we may do it. You know, it's on the list to look into, but maybe down the line a little ways, just so there's some space in between.
Wait, I gotta say something. Thank you, Sarah. For liking my hair. I appreciate it.
Let me get Derek Hayes on here. We'll ask him if it's okay if y'all do that.
Right? Yeah, hey, do it.
Hi, Marianne. Love you, girl.
I hadn't talked to Derek in a while. He is busy with his show and
heck yeah, yes,
TV show and all that.
Yeah.
Well, he's got that. Him and David Flora have a documentary that they just got funded to be able to do. And if it wasn't for Corona, they would actually be out there right now in the desert filming this thing, trying to get it out in the fall. But now it's going to be put out a little bit.
That is so crazy.
Yeah, that sucks.
So Tom Lundy said that they actually spent the night.
Very nice.
That is very cool.
And I'm not familiar with the mirrored man situation, to be honest with you, at all. So that's something we hadn't even considered because that's completely new to me on that one. Let's see. First of all, Michael, she does not look 50 years younger than me. I'll give her credit. Maybe 40, but not 50. And for the record, she's older than I am. So I'm a cradle robber.
Yeah, you are.
She's a cradle robber.
Well, thank you, Michael.
Do you guys have a favorite haunting or urban legend that happened in England? Let's start with you, Matt.
The Greyfriars is my favorite story out of the UK.
Yeah.
I mean, there's so many stories that are just scary as hell, and we've not done one strictly on the Greyfriars, but we did one on the Mackenzie Poltergeist.
Close enough.
Our Poltergeist episode, so that covers a large chunk of it.
Right.
So, well, I mean, Adam, we've talked about several places in the UK. What about you?
Yeah, I'm trying to think, and this, I hate to say it, I can't remember the name of the place that we covered.
The Ancient Ram Inn comes to mind too. That one was a lot of fun, and Jerry and Tracy covered that one as well.
Yeah, that's the thing about England is they have so many awesome places. I mean, if you got that, you've got the Black Monk of Pontefract. You've got the Borley Rectory. You've got one of my favorites was actually
is on our list too. Yeah,
one of my favorites is the Byron Street Poltergeist, and there's not a lot out there on that one as far as a lot of shows don't cover it. we covered it. And it was actually one of my favorites. I mean, it was a long episode. There was so much out there on that one. That's but yeah, I mean, you can't go. God forbid you would think about not mentioning the Tower of London. So I mean, they're awesome. It's like the greatest stories for the most part seem to come out of England because hell, they're so old. And Graham End was one of my favorites.
Yeah. That was the one I was thinking about. I just couldn't. Y'all probably have this worse than I do, but somebody will mention something about one of our episodes, and it was like 50 ago, and I'm like, "What the hell are you? We did that? When did we do that?" And then I had to go back and look. So I actually have to keep a running list of our episodes by title of what we did, so that I don't forget.
Hey, look at there, Lep Castle. I forgot that we covered Lep Castle.
Yep.
Yeah, and that one was a lot of fun too.
Yep, same here when we covered it, and that's when we found out that it was Lep. Actually, we've got a listener, Lacey, who she went over there and she told us that she made the mistake of calling it leap, and they were like, "We don't leap, we lep." And that's how we tell. So she told us enough. She told us beforehand, so we knew what to do.
Yeah, it's like we don't leap. We've already done it. We lep.
Does anyone know what the term wake means?
I've been told I wasn't woke before, but I think it's the same thing.
I mean, I wouldn't. Other than the fact of what takes place at funerals and stuff like that. That's the only thing that I think of when I think of wake. Yeah. So maybe it could be a little more descriptive, and we might have a better answer for you, Robert. Let's see. Late to the party. That's probably my fault, Jana.
Yeah. Yeah, that's totally his fault.
Places in what about places in Australia? Monte Cristo obviously is one that I like. We did one on what was the prison? Shoot, man, I can't think of it. Starts with an F. Just completely drew a blank of it. But Fremantle, the Fremantle prison. Wow. And that one was really fun because I know Alice Cooper actually went over there and took some tours. Ozzy took a tour of it when they were over there. But yeah, that's the Fremantle prison and Monte Cristo were the two that I liked the most.
That's cool. Yeah, we did the Monte Cristo, and the one that's on the list that I want to cover, but it's going to be one of those that I've got to like do some really deep dives into stuff to figure out if it's going to be worth it or not, is the Black Mountain out there. There's supposedly a lot of legends and lore about it, and I think it would be fun for us to do, but I just haven't had the time to dive down and see if there's enough meat to do a full episode or if we need to do a Patreon with it, because we do that a lot. If we look at something and go, oh, there's not enough for us to ramble on for an hour and a half on, then we'll put it as a Patreon episode. So,
well, Natalie put on here the Hexam Heads is weird. We did that episode also, and what is the Unexplained? Richard did a fantastic episode on that. It's one of his older ones back in I think it's the first season. But yeah, Hexam Heads is very weird, and it was one of the cool ones. Like I said, once again, another story out of Great Britain that's just phenomenal. Let's do this one.
Don't you see the one?
Karen said, do you have a favorite U.S. haunting? Mine's Bell Witch. We cover this every week, so this is probably in regards to you guys.
Matt, you go first. That's his thinking.
I don't know that. We've not covered this, but the Demon House has always been kind of one of my favorites. When I see something come up, about something that happened at the Demon House, I'm always interested. That one, it just seemed like there were really no good explanations for everything that went on there. This is the house that Zach Bagans bought and was gonna
from Gary, Indiana
movie, and then and then was gonna destroy it. and all that stuff because, he claimed that it was just way too much and that it was affecting him and the other people on the show, but the family that lived there was just absolutely tormented. And there's always that story from, the social worker that actually visited the home that said, she actually saw one of the younger people in the home be lifted off the floor and thrown to the roof or to the ceiling rather. And, those kind of accounts, I always perk up because one thing that we talk about on our show is that if you take where the account comes from when it comes to these kind of stories, you've got people that they're not just, hey, I'm Joe Blow and this house is haunted. It's like it's a police officer, it's a member of the military, it's a politician, or in this case a social worker, somebody that has some credibility at stake to make these kind of claims. I mean, you can imagine if you're a working professional and you're going to say, listen, I went to this house and I saw this and that and all this other stuff, you got to expect some people are going to go, you're nuts, and I'm not really going to trust anything else you say about anything. And for it to affect you enough to be willing to come out and go, hey, I saw this with my own eyes and it scared the daylights out of me, then that always makes me kind of perk up and go, look, they actually had something to lose by coming forward with a story like that. It's much less, people have stories all the time where it just looks like they're trying to make a buck off of it. They're trying to sell book rights or a movie, but somebody that, hey, this could ruin them professionally by coming out and saying this, especially when you start talking about UFOs and that kind of stuff. I always perk up. And so when I hear those kind of stories about the demon house, I'm always interested. I don't know. What about you, Adam? Do you have one that is your favorite?
No, I really don't have one that I would say is a favorite. I think what always draws my attention is when we look at stuff like we did the Devil's Backbone episode, and there's multiple places in one town that are haunted. So when it's something like that, when it's more of a town that has a haunting or some weirdness going on, that's usually what gets my attention a whole lot more than if it's just a house, though I love the house hauntings. But it's like, or the Bridgewater Triangle that we did, all the weird stuff just in that one area. When it's a huge area, that perks me up a little bit, and I want to figure out why it's a whole town. Yeah,
that makes sense.
Yeah.
So Robert, he responded back that wakes were actually the term wake was they were waiting to see if the dead would wake, I guess, to make sure they didn't bury them alive. So that makes sense.
Yeah.
The dead ringer, I actually know the answer to that one, so follow along. So we all know who Quasimodo is, right? From the Hunchback of Notre Dame. So what happened is the original Quasimodo, I don't know if you know this or not, but he had a brother. And the brother was actually the original guy who would ring the bell, but he didn't have any arms. So he would have to go and run full force and smack into the bell with his face. That's how he had to ring the bell. And one day he unfortunately missed. He fell out the window and fell to his death. And people came up to him and they were looking to him and they were like, who is this guy? Because he'd been up at the bell tower. Nobody knew him. And the one guy says, I don't know, but his face rings a bell.
Oh my God.
But then his brother took over the job. Unfortunately, hereditary, no arms, same thing, fell out. And somebody came up and they said, who is this guy? And one of the townspeople said, I don't know, but his brother's a dead ringer. So that's how dead ringer came about.
Or did you just make that all up?
No, that's the true story.
It sounds like a joke, don't it?
Yes, it does. Oh my God.
So that's how that went. So now you've got that down. And
But his face rings a bell sounds like a punchline.
The graveyard shift, that one actually is pretty obvious. That literally
goodness.
is the fact that when they would go dig graves, it was in the middle of the night. So that's why they have the term graveyard shift got there.
Right.
Aw, that poor dude.
Zach is the most possessed person ever. He just needs to step back, just saying. Zach has already had too much attention on this live feed.
Yeah, that's right. We've mentioned his name. That was enough.
I just had to say this, and I won't mention his name. There are people like this feller that everything is demonic. Matt and I have talked about this before. You know, everywhere he goes, oh, it's a demon. Oh, that's a demon. Oh, this is a demon. And Matt and I covered a topic that they had also done, and we found no demonic activity there. And it's like, well, yeah, it's because that makes good TV.
Sure.
And that's what pisses me off about that is it's so overdone, and it's like everything is demonic. No, it's not. I'm sorry, but you know, there may be a grumpy old man ghost, but not everything is demonic, and not everybody gets possessed every 5 minutes. And
Yeah.
So Michelle Sweeney said Lep Castle is in Ireland, not England. Yes, we are aware of that, but it got brought up by somebody when we were talking about the England.
Oh,
Because remember Lacey went over there and she brought us back some Irish lager and or the some kind of Irish ale, and then she brought us back some chocolates and stuff like that. So, but no, somebody brought it up, so we put it up there and started talking about it in the middle of all the stuff over there. This was good. La Fonda Dynamite.
I so love that. Love it.
When you guys come back to Scarefest in Kentucky, I just really don't know La Fonda. Just kind of really appealed because they don't ever invite us back. No. So anyways, we will not be back this year because we've got 2 live events, God forbid if they happen, that are on the exact same weekend.
Yeah.
So
we love
we're supposed to be in
Scarefest, though, man.
and Charleston, so we won't be able to do it. But hopefully next year we'd like to do it. They're usually in September, which would have been a lot easier. But they've made it October this year, which totally screwed with what we're going on. But we will be, because speaking of changing, CryptidCon changed until August, and we're hoping to be there. We've got the invite. If it goes on, it's August 8th here in Lexington. So we will be at that if everything goes as planned and everything's opened up. Let's see. Cheeseman Park and the attached Botanic Gardens would be a great topic. History is really crazy. Are you guys familiar with that place?
no, I'm not.
I'm not either.
Paula, what city and state is that in? And we'll look into that one again. Let's see what else we got here. Diana said, if you can visit any place you've covered, where would it be? Adam, I'll let you start with this one.
Oh Lord. Well, like we talked a little bit ago, the Ancient Ram Inn would probably be one that I would want to go visit. Just due to the history that's there. The Stanley Hotel, probably just because of the fame that it has. I don't know. It's like Matt and I say it all the time that everywhere we talk about, we want to go visit. You know, we just don't have the ability to, but we would love to go and see it. We just recently covered the Glasgow Necropolis. Would love to go get a tour of the Glasgow Necropolis because it's so pretty. You know?
I'm going to guess it's in Glasgow.
It's in Glasgow.
Kentucky.
Not Kentucky.
No, but I didn't hear Glasgow. I thought you said something different. That's why I was like, oh. Yeah.
Not the Asbo Necropolis, the Glasgow Necropolis.
Yeah. We talked about going to Bobby Mackey's too.
Yeah, that would be cool to go to.
It's close enough we could reasonably do it.
Yes, you could do that. That would be amazing. Yes.
And we're about to talk about coming up pretty soon in a few episodes. Won't tell you where it is, but we're about to talk about a place that is very close to me now that I would like to go to. And it theoretically, I could within an hour and a half or 2 hours be there. So it may happen once all this mess is over with. So,
well, good.
Elizabeth said, well, I guess we should probably answer that question too. You know what? It's like there's so many I want to go to. Amityville would probably be one. The Stanley is definitely there. But I think I would probably, if I could just pick one, it would probably be Winchester Mystery House. I would love to see what that place looks like.
We've had some listeners that are not far from there and that have gone and taken the tour and sent us pictures. So,
oh, neat.
Yeah.
Yeah, we had the same thing. We've got a listener that absolutely every time she's out there doing something, she sends us. So she sent us like the brochure and a cup and the tickets and everything from out there. And she sent us some salt and pepper shakers that look like Winchester shotgun shells. That
oh, nice. That's cool.
Mm-hmm.
So Elizabeth says, I went to Port Arthur. Tracy, I'm sorry. Did you have a place that you want to visit? I forgot that you.
Oh, no, I'm just over here on my own.
He'll follow where you go.
Yeah. I mean, actually, I would like to see the Winchester house as well. Because I could get lost in there probably pretty easily, right?
Yep.
But
I'm okay with that.
yeah.
All right. Elizabeth Reagan. I went to Port Arthur.
Get a couple hours alone.
History was interesting. Is Port Arthur where they had the mass shooting? I know there was a mass shooting over in Australia, and I'm for some reason Port Arthur comes to mind. So you can actually let me know a little later here in the comments that if I'm right or if I'm wrong on that.
Sarah Curtis. I just saw Sarah Curtis asked a question. We actually do have a episode on Chernobyl. She said, "Have any of y'all done a deep look at Chernobyl?" Didn't mean to cut you off, but
No, that's fine.
I haven't done anything on Chernobyl. I kind of watched some stuff, but I really didn't see anything about paranormal wise. I saw some just strange radioactive stuff. Yeah. And we covered one of our Patreon episodes. We did abandoned or haunted amusement parks, and there was an amusement park that opened up over there or was getting ready to open up. And like the day or the second day before it opened up, that's when Chernobyl happened. So everything is still there, but so it's kind of creepy, but it never actually did any business.
Yeah. It was episode 62 for us, Chernobyl Strangeness. And that's the thing. There wasn't much paranormal activity. And the thing is, there may be, but they can't spend a lot of time in there due to the radioactivity. So where there might be paranormal activity, you can't have somebody in there hanging out doing an overnight investigation to try to catch the ghost. There have been some shows that Josh Gates, I think one of his shows, went through the Chernobyl area, and they caught some weird stuff. Looked like somebody was ducking around a corner and everything, but it unverified anything because you just can't spend a lot of time in there. So,
hey, Brent.
So Dina asks, is it Deanna? I'm sorry. Deanna asks, hi guys, where's the scariest place you have personally visited and what were your experiences? Matt, start with you.
I don't know. I don't know that I've had any real scary experiences. We did go to the Thomas house that's in Red Boiling Springs, and for the most part, it was uneventful. But we did have a situation where Amanda and I were standing outside, and we were talking, and we were the only ones out there. And Adam and our other friend Austin was with us. And so Austin had walked out, and he says, I'm going to go in here and go to the bathroom. They're wrapping up inside, and we're going to start going around. And so we're standing out there. Well, there's a spirit there that they call the Whistler. And Amanda had been out standing on the front porch go.
They say it'll be a call and response.
And so, I mean, literally, just right after that, she gets, and I just look over at her and she goes, "Was that you?" And I went, "No, I thought it was you."
Oh,
and I said,
my gosh.
"No," I said, "It's Austin. He went to the bathroom. He's right around the corner. He can still hear us." And so we walked to the front door, and through the lobby, we see Austin and Adam walking out of the dining room. So it wasn't either one of them. We were out there by ourselves.
Oh,
and so
my
that
gosh.
gave us some cold chills.
Oh,
sure.
my gosh, definitely.
So I guess that kind of ties into what Marissa kind of was asking. She says, what was the creepiest encounter you've had? So we'll start with saying that the scariest place that I've been to, it's probably still going to be Waverly, even though I don't really find any of them that scary, to be honest with you. But Tracy, what's the scariest place you've been to?
I'm going to say that too. We saw a lot of shadow people. A lot of things happened while we were there. Like there's a big, huge steel door slammed shut when nobody was around it. And to try to pull it open yourself, you just can't hardly do it. And it was funny because Jerry's sister was standing over by, and I have never seen somebody run as fast as she did to the other side. And we all, even the guys were like looking around and stuff like that. So, I think that's the scariest. And then I think Bobby Mackey's was pretty scary for me. We went on a tour, and they have the place where the bull is, and over in that corner, and I got nauseous and sick, and then this other guy got scratched on his back, like in the middle of the back where nobody. Yeah.
See, I told you we should have gone up there.
Yeah, it's really creepy down there.
We'll be giving a live show inside Bobby Mackey's on Sunday before Halloween this coming year. So if you guys can make it up,
yeah, you should.
We may have to.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Marissa, by the way, because I saw your comment that asked if your comment got skipped. We literally have over 500 comments right now, so they all don't get put up, and it moves so fast that a lot of times we don't see them until it's late. So I have to dig back through when I'm not talking to try to find them. So I just happened to see that and dug back. So it wasn't on purpose. We apologize.
Yeah, we got you, darling.
Creepiest encounter for Tracy. Tell your creepy encounter from when we were in Bardstown at the Old Talbot Tavern.
Oh, yeah. I forgot about that place. So the room that we stayed in, number one, was creepy as enough. They had those stupid porcelain dolls that sat on mantles, and they were totally creepy. So the first thing I did was turn them around because I just wasn't having it. Well, anyway, so we had like double beds. What are they called?
Twin beds.
Twin beds. And I was on the one side by the bathroom, and then Jerry was like way over there. So we're sleeping and everything, and then I just like woke up out of sleep. Like I just knew somebody was staring at me. I just knew it. And I said to Jerry, Jerry, where are you at? And he's like, I'm over here in bed. And I'm like, oh my God. So it was just that strong. So anyway, he decides to get up and go to the bathroom. And it was just like somebody was like staring right at me. And so he came out of the bathroom. I'm like, you are not going back over in that bed. You are staying right here. It was like a little twin bed. So both of our asses were hanging off.
Sure.
Because we couldn't fit. I'm like, there is no way you're leaving me alone in that again.
That's how you get groped.
Yeah, that's right.
Monster under the bed. You know?
I know it. And it was the creepiest thing. And then me and my sister-in-law had went in and turned the light off, and she took a picture with her flash and stuff. And at the bottom of the bedpost, it looked like there was a hand, like reaching around the bottom of the bedpost. That's what it looked like in the picture.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, no, hell no, I'm out. There was so many creepy things that happened there. It was crazy.
You saying bed, that made me think about Matt, you probably remember this very vividly, but I was having some sleep paralysis issues for a while.
Oh gosh.
And I would wake up, not be able to move, and it was like a dark shape was coming into the bedroom from out in the hallway. And the one that was the weirdest for me is I woke up and I was laying on my side and I couldn't move. And in front of me, sitting on the bed, I could just see the back of it, was this large, hairy thing, white, hairy shape sitting on the bed. And at first my mind went to, oh, that's my dog. And I realized, nope, Dallas is behind me. That's not what this is. Then all of a sudden it blinked out and there was a white cat walking out of my room, walked out of the door. And as it got out of the door, it turned around and looked at me. And then I was able to move again when it looked at me.
Oh, my Lord.
And so it freaked me the hell out.
Oh,
And
my God.
so that was one of the pushes for me to get black tourmaline. And, you know, I now wear one all the time around my neck, and I keep one by the bed. And since I got the black tourmaline, I have not had any sleep paralysis issues. So
no kidding.
Say what you will about it, but, you know, say what you will about sleep paralysis, say what you will about black tourmaline. But for me, that was, you know, the thing that pushed me to want to try something. That's what I tried, and it seems to have worked.
Wow. That's amazing. I think that the sleep paralysis thing would be so terrifying for me.
That is the weirdest thing. Being like, I knew I was awake. People say, well, you're dreaming that you, no, screw that. I was awake. I know I was awake, you know?
Oh my gosh.
And I could not move. And there was a few times that I would be laying on my back and I had to, like, you know, it was one of those things where I'm trying to scream and I can't scream. And all of a sudden you go, ugh, and you can pull out of it. But it's like fighting chains. It's weird. It's weird.
Oh my gosh. That is crazy.
So this is some pictures of the Talbot Tavern. And this right here, obviously, is the room that we stayed in. That's the 2 twin beds she was talking about.
Tracy had the left and Jerry had the right.
Actually, it was the other way around.
Oh, excuse me.
Reverse, yeah.
And then he climbed on top of her, and we're gonna leave it at that.
So we're married. That does not happen.
Nice.
Let's see what we got here. What have we missed here? Maybe Zach's the haunted one. Thanks, Nicole.
Hey, Kayla. How you doing, sweetheart? Yes, you need to come. We love to meet you. Definitely.
What if she was talking about us?
Oh.
No, she's probably talking about y'all.
My bad. Sorry about that.
If you ever want to cover the theory that Athens, Ohio is built in a pentagram configuration, which has several haunted buildings within it, that would explain why the University of Georgia has our number up here in Kentucky every time we play football.
Mm-hmm.
I've heard about that, but I've not looked into it. So,
yeah, that's the first time I've heard of that.
And I heard it mentioned somewhere, and I can't remember where, but I never took a dive into that research or anything. So,
will you guys ever make it to Nebraska? Do you guys plan on going to Nebraska anytime soon?
Adam's closer than I am.
Yeah, no.
I can't imagine.
I can't leave right now, so I'm stuck at home. But you know,
yeah, true.
We want to do shows like Matt and I have talked about. We do want to do shows where we can make it to a bunch of different states and just do a live show. Even if we can only do one show in the state and not multiple, it would be nice to go to Nebraska and Oklahoma and a bunch of different places and do shows whenever the budget, you know, gets there, whenever we have the cash in, you know, in the group to be able to do that in the business. But maybe one day we can.
You will, definitely.
We got a lot of listeners up in Nebraska. I'd like to be able to go. There's no plans to go as of this second. Paula said the place earlier we were talking about was in Denver. That was the place that had the gardens and everything to it that we asked if we what state and city.
Okay, yeah.
Oh yeah.
Let's see. Leah said that she was going to go to Ancient Ram Inn, and unfortunately coronavirus hit and kept her from being able to do it.
Damn Rona.
I know it. Took the words right out of my mouth.
I'll touch on one that came up. I don't know, a little while back. Diana asked if I grew up in a haunted house, which is true. And we actually did a show 2 years ago, not this past Halloween, but the one before. We interviewed my mom and dad. She was asking what the creepiest thing that I'd ever experienced there. It actually didn't happen to me. I was there when it happened, but it happened to one of my really good friends. He actually saw the ghost. He said there was a woman standing on the stairs. We were asleep downstairs. He tried to wake up me and the other friend of mine that was staying over. His reaction was he said he pulled the covers up over his head and was too scared to do anything else. And said he said he thought it was like 30 minutes. He pulled the covers off of his head and she was gone.
Oh my gosh.
To this day, my parents have lived in this house for over 40 years. And to this day, that's the only account that anyone has ever actually seen her. But it freaked him out pretty bad.
Oh my gosh. I mean, you think about that. I mean, me and Jerry have discussed about, why would they stay in the house, or why, you know what I'm saying? Or why would they hide under the cover? But I'm sure, you don't know what you're going to do till you put in that situation.
Right.
My parent, the land that is my parents' neighborhood was essentially an enormous farm that was owned by a man from England. And so when he died, the farm began to pass through his family, and it was eventually sold, and they began to build houses on it. Back in, the 50s and 60s. And so all of the street names there they're named for streets in England. We have a lot of Winchesters and Sussex and those. And so they named them because the land belonged to that fella, but it was an enormous farm. And from the get-go, when my parents bought the house, the people they bought it from told them at closing, it's haunted. That was the last thing they got from these weirdos they bought this house from. And they've been there ever since. They still live there now.
Yeah.
Wow.
We did for that episode, we did a little investigation, and not much happened, so we didn't post the audio or video or anything from it, but we were sitting down in the basement area, and we asked the spirit to move something in the room, and hangers started moving.
Mm-hmm.
And I looked at Matt and said, "Do you see this? Are you seeing the hang?" And he's like, "Yep, I see it." And that's the only thing at the time that we could attribute to anything, paranormal, was hangers moving when there was no air on or anything. But
wow,
we didn't spend a whole lot of time there. So had we probably could have gotten more.
Was it the ghost of Joan Crawford?
No, they were plastic hangers, Jerry.
So Deanna says, have you heard any stories about the Parrot House Tavern in Savannah, Georgia? We actually covered some of that. I can't remember if it was Patreon. I think it was Patreon, but we covered some little haunted places in Savannah, and that's one of the places that we plan on going to eat when we go to Savannah when October of this coming year when we go there. So that's definitely on the list of places to go in Savannah. Have you guys had any stories or are familiar with the place?
No.
My sister used to live in South Georgia, and she went to Savannah quite a few times. And she's done all the ghost tours down there, and she's got a lot of really great stories that come out of there. But we've not ever looked into the Pirate House.
I'm probably wrong, but it seems like that's the oldest tavern in Savannah, if I remember correctly. So, nice little restaurant.
That would have some history then, for sure.
Miranda says, "Come to Ohio. We have ghosts and snacks." We just came through Ohio today.
Mm-hmm.
And I used to go to Ohio 3, 4, 5 times a week, and we've done a show in Ohio every single year. So we're usually Cincinnati area.
Let's say hi to Dennis from Ecuador. Thank you for listening, honey.
Awesome. Let's see. I guess we'll get ready to start wrapping this thing up. Here's one. Have you ever heard of multiple family members dreaming of the same apparition? My daughter and I have been dreaming of the same creepy little girl. We hadn't mentioned it to each other for a while after it started.
Now that is crazy.
I'll jump in with this one first. We have a young lady who listens from Galveston, Texas area. And she had told us that her and her husband lived in a house. They split up. They had a couple of kids. They split up. She left, took the kids. While she was in the house during their married years, she would be visited by an entity. And it would a lot of times would come to her dreams and was trying to make her suicidal. It was definitely a darker force that was telling her to do things she should not be doing. She left on a divorce. Her oldest son started to go back to spend time, weekends or whatever it was, with the father. And he started having the exact same dream, same apparition, and they had never talked about this. When he came and told her about this is when she realized it was the same thing.
Oh, wow.
That's the one. And she actually came on. It's one of our Patreon listener stories episodes from probably when did we go to Galveston? Last May? So last May, she actually came on, and her son both talked to us and told that story.
That's awesome. Yeah,
so what do you guys got?
We've heard of that kind of thing, but nothing that I can, pull out of my brain right now as to specifics. But we've heard it a time or two of people, the whole family dreaming or having the same dream or seeing the same person in their dream and never speaking of it until it just got too bad, Yeah,
I've not heard too many about the dream. But I in a previous life, I lived in a house, and I could see things in the house, and I just kept it quiet because, like I said, growing up, how I grew up in the house where I grew up, other friends had experienced things in my parents' home, and the stories got out and everybody wanted to hear my stories. But this is another house in another town that I lived in, and I had seen this going on for about a year. What I would see two things. Number one, I would see a large black shadow of a man walk from down the hall toward my daughter's bedroom. And I would just see it. And I would be like, man, that's weird. That's just, for a long time, I just kind of played it off and said, it's my eyes playing tricks on me. I'm not seeing it. I would always be in the bed, and I could see down the hall past the bathroom, and I would just see it periodically, probably 2 or 3 times a month. And then the other thing I would see would be a little girl in a yellow dress with a little apron dress. And so one night I saw her walk, and I just looked over and I said, look, I'm not trying to scare you or anything, but I've been seeing this stuff for over a year now. And I'm just curious, do you ever see an apparition in the house, just kind of walk down the hallway? And she goes, oh, yes. And I said, all right. What do you see? And she's like, a little girl. I was like, yes, a little girl. I was like, what is she wearing? And she was like, a dress. And I said, what color is the dress? And she looks at me and goes, yellow. And I was like, yes, a yellow dress. I was like, so I knew.
Yeah.
I wasn't the only one that could see her.
Yeah. Wow.
And it was so crazy that we both had seen her, and she'd never seen the man. But we had a lot of weird stuff that would happen where things would turn on and off and that kind of stuff. And she had always attributed it to her father, who had passed away. But yeah, really strange. And we both would experience it. And it was just, for probably 2 years, never talked about it. I just, I didn't bring that stuff up. I figured, I'm the only one that sees it. So I never talked about it. And finally, when I did, I was like, hey, some validation. All right.
Yeah, but it's almost like you're glad that it's validated, but then you're like, oh, crap. Wow, that is so cool, though.
Look at this. Doing show partner swaps would be cool.
Oh, yeah.
I saw somebody mentioned that earlier.
Yeah. That'd be interesting.
A Matt and Tracy show?
Yeah, there you go.
That'd be cool. I'm down.
Yeah, that would be cool. Maybe that could be something we can talk about in the future. Maybe do a split episode where we just we do half half the show with split up like that, and then split up. I could do one with Matt, and I could do one with Adam, and Tracy could do one with both of you, and we could have little 10-minute segments or something. That might be cool.
Yeah, it'd be cool. We'd be down for it.
Might work that out.
Tracy can have somebody else that she could just say, ooh, I don't even know what to say about that.
Jerry Pauly.
Well,
he's going to punch him right on live TV.
Matt and I are pretty big smartasses ourselves, so we could pick on her during the episode. So.
There you go. Are you planning on coming to California anytime soon? The plan is to come out next year. Try to get it going this year. Looked about doing Phoenix and Chicago in a 2-day deal and couldn't get it worked out. So we'll start working on that. We start planning next year's shows, live events in October. And that's when I start setting them all up for starting in April the following year. So this year we'll be looking a little closer to October, November. We'll start setting some stuff up. St. Augustine is definitely on the map for next year. And, that'll be fun. We've got a location and everything now, so it's just a matter of setting a date and making everybody happy. But the location is right on the ocean in a hotel conference room that seats about 60 people, but they're going to give us rooms for a good block on prices of rooms. We're looking about $120 a night with oceanfront property.
That's good too.
Yeah, we Ashley and I and the kid went out to California last year sometime, and it wasn't for a show. It was just because I had never been, and went out there and we saw the sights and stayed, right there on the ocean and everything. And it was awesome. And when we got back, I was talking about it a little bit on the show, joking about California and everything. And somebody got mad at me for, they said I needed to quit making jokes about California when I've never been. And I'm like, I just got back. What are you talking about?
Quick question, Jane and Ollie Fields. I would love to hear y'all's take on Native American little people. I'm half Choctaw and half Irish ancestry. Grew up hearing about sightings. To some, they're similar to red caps, while to others, they are benevolent. My grandpa, Choctaw, saw one as a young man in rural Oklahoma in the 1920s. The little man helped him find his way home.
Oh, wow. I need to look into that because I love Native American legends and stuff. So I got a book about that thick on Native American legends and lore that I'm going to make Matt dive into with me on some episode. Oh,
awesome. Well, listen, we'll read this one and we'll end on this one. Very haunted people shanghaied to work on ships after consuming too much. Pirate house and the rest of downtown haunted with orbs and spirits. That also happened up in the tunnels up in Portland because we did a complete show about that. But yeah, so very interesting, pretty cool subject. Guys, this has been our longest show, right at about an hour and a half. I can't thank you enough for coming on. It's been super fun.
Yeah, it's been great.
We had a good time, and sorry that it was the longest. Of course it was. We ramble a lot, but
nothing wrong with that. That's great.
I think we just had more questions on this one than the other one. So, Adam, why don't you tell everybody how they can keep up with you guys on social media?
All right. So we do have a website that you can go to, graveyardpodcast.com, or you can hit us up. We've got a Facebook group, and what Jerry just told me was our fan page. I've just been calling it the business page, but whatever. It's a fan page. And you can just search Graveyard Tales Podcast on Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram, and you can find us there. So we try to keep up with it. posting stuff a lot, but you can download the episodes anywhere you find podcasts, anywhere you get Hillbilly Horror Stories, you can find us, and you can also listen to them straight from the website.
Awesome. Sounds like a plan. And we did, I wanted to add this before we quit. They mentioned Port Arthur in Australia, and I'd asked if there was a big shooting, a deadly shooting there, and the answer was yes. That was back in the 96, I think it was. I've lost the text on here, but there was 30-some people, like 36 people shot, and several of them died. And it was their biggest mass shooting, I believe, in Australia in their history.
Oh, wow.
That's awful.
So
it's terrible.
Guys, it's been fun. Can't wait. You know what? I guess we kind of have to bring this up. We have a live event that is scheduled in July in Pigeon Forge. We are kind of still looking at the situation. It's a little, we're in no man's land when you're saying it's kind of too soon canceled, but it's also something that we have to look at that we don't know if it's going to happen or not going to happen. So we'll know more in the upcoming couple of weeks. We want to make sure that, one, we're doing the responsible thing. We want to make sure that people feel like they can come to the show and be safe. We want to make sure that people are comfortable when they're there. You know, we don't want it to be a situation where people are like, I want to go, but you know, we'll play it by ear. We'll come to a consensus. We talked about it a little bit earlier, but we'll have an answer probably within the next 2 or 3 weeks. Would you say, guys?
Yeah, I'd say so.
So that's kind of where we're at. There's no doubt, unless something changes, the location will be available. It's just a matter of whether it's the smart thing to do.
Right.
So that's kind of where we're at. So we'll come full circle and then make sure that you guys, and maybe we'll put up some polls or stuff and see when you guys think. That's one of the things I think I'm going to do is just say, hey, what month do you guys think you would be comfortable doing a mass gathering like that? I mean, would it be July? Would it be August? Or would it be September? And maybe we'll get some consensus. And by the time maybe both of us put up some polls, we'll see what people's thought process is, and we'll either try to reschedule the thing or just cancel it altogether. But hopefully we can come up with something to reschedule. So.
Yeah.
But we won't leave you hanging. We know people have plans and are trying to make plans, and we won't give you like a week's notice and say, okay, it's on. So
right. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's it, guys. Greatly appreciate it. You guys are awesome.
Yes, you are.
Thanks for having us on. We
you.
appreciate it.
All right. Thank you, guys, and we'll talk to you soon.
Bye, guys.